Welcome to Mindset Lessons from the Field. I'm your host, Gina Kazaza. Before we get started, quick invite to join our free Substack community. We got monthly book club. We got articles to boost your mental fitness and resilience. We got a group chat going on because growth is easier when you're not doing it alone. So come on over and join that Substack community. Also, if this show hits home, please leave a rating, share it, follow us on Instagram, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Now, one more thing before we dive in. Quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Empowered Lit Literacy and Beyond. It's a 501c3 nonprofit bringing author visits and confident building programs to kids. Right now, only 30% of kids are reading at grade level. Gosh, that's a scary number. And confidence drops at the age of 7. Empowered Lit is changing that, but it takes partners like you. Literacy is the entry point. Confidence is the outcome. Learn how to support them in the show notes. Today's guest, I'm really excited to chat with. He's a man who lived a life of service, leadership, and mental toughness. He spent 28 years in Special Forces, rising to Sergeant Major and shaping the next generation of Green Berets. But beyond the uniform, he's a husband, dad, and someone who believes deeply that life is a team sport. He learned how to balance chaos and order, strength and compassion, and teaches others to do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited to introduce you to Cadre Dan. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Really excited to chat with you. Let's start from the 28 years, Special Forces. I mean, that's a really long time. Did you always know that you were going to go into Special Forces? Did you know about Special Forces? Was military just like the life you wanted? Let's start from the beginning.
I come from a family of service to our country. One grandfather was in Korean War. The other one was in World War II. My dad served during the Vietnam time frame. Didn't go to Vietnam, but served during that time frame. So that was always the Northern Star for me, was to go into the Army. I mean, you could trace my family lineage all the way back throughout the entirety of this country, and I've had somebody in that family tree that has fought in every major conflict. So I'm like the Lieutenant Dan, except I'm an enlisted guy. But either way, I mean, I was always going in the Army was something I knew I was going to do when I was like 13, 14 years old. So I didn't initially sign up to be SF. I actually was talked out of that from my dad. He brought up a really good point. He was like, if you're going to go in the Army, he's like, you might not like it. And he's like, why don't you do something that you like right now, that you went to school. I went to, while I was in high school, I went to technical school to be an auto mechanic. The first 7 or 8 years I was in the Army, I was a mechanic and served in the 82nd, went to Korea, went to Germany. And it was at that point that I was like, I need to upgrade to business class and go Special Forces. And the great thing is I had so many great models of what an SF guy looks like from the 5 years that I was in the 82nd, being on the same installation that is the home of special operations. And then just other friends I'd made. And I was like, this is the route I want to go with my career. Nothing to take away being a mechanic or anything like that. I had a great time. It was fun, hard work, and learned a lot. But it was time to close that chapter and start a new one in the overall book of my career.
When you went Special Forces, how'd you do like going through it? Like what did you go? Like were you medic? Were you weapons? Were you which route?
So I did the primal man thing. So it was 18 Charlie. It was blow things up or build them. Right. Okay. So they don't tell you in the 18, whenever you go to be an 18 Charlie, that you're going to also deal with hand receipts, property, and any of those fun, awesome things that nobody in the Army really likes to deal with. Luckily, because I was a mechanic in the Army and I had been in the Army for, 7, 8 years, like I knew all those processes before I went and showed up at a team. So I was like, oh yeah, hand receipt, I know what that is. I knew what all the supply things were. Maybe I wasn't an expert at it, but I had a very good baseline knowledge.
You knew the logo. You knew, lingo. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't like an 18 X-ray that was like, what's a leaf form? That's not to take away from X-rays, but like, when an 18 X-ray comes into the military, the sole purpose of life is to get them trained and get them onto a team. All the regular Army stuff, that'll come once they get to a team. I really wanted to blow things up. And then obviously when I went to selection in 2006, that was the height of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I was like, I absolutely want to be in the thick of it. Blowing things up just sounded great. And then, just being on a team, that's the overall like center of gravity, is being on an ODA. No matter what your MOS is, being on that team with those guys. The Army could have been like, you're going to be a medic. And I wouldn't have been a fan of it, but I would have did it to get to the team. It didn't matter. The job didn't matter. Luckily, I got to choose, and luckily, the Army was like, okay, you want to do this? Well, we'll let you do that. Because the Army can pretty much just tells you what
tell you. They own you, right?
They own you.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's cool. How did you have any rollbacks? Did you have any struggles, or was it like,
Oh yeah,
you went, really? Let's talk
oh
to
yeah.
us about that.
So I went to SFAS twice, which is it. That's not completely uncommon. Which I later found out whenever I was the SFAS Sergeant Major. I actually found out that that's not uncommon for active duty enlisted that are coming from the force to go to selection. That some folks it takes a couple times. When I mean a couple times, I mean like you have to do at least reasonably well the first time for them to invite you back the second time. But the second time, it's like, hey, this is your shot. So I went to SFAS twice, and I went in the second time was like, I had the mindset of, if I do not get selected, I am getting out of the Army. And it wasn't hatred towards the Army, or it wasn't anything negative. It was just
Right.
I just put that in my head, and I was like, this is it. Like, I'm putting all my energy, all my focus into being selected so that I can be trained as a Green Beret and then further go to a team. As a mechanic going into the whole Q course of Special Forces training, I had a decent amount of knowledge about like small unit tactics and some of the other stuff that they teach, survival skills, and some of the other stuff that they taught, construction. I had some knowledge of all the phases of the Q course that I went through. You still got to study, you still got to train, you still got to put all your focus and energy into making sure that you're successful. So I did pretty good with that. And then language, I'm not a very smart guy. All right, just not, French. I got 18 Charlie French, which should tell you something, right? Because like if you're like an 18 Bravo in Spanish, right? It doesn't mean you're dumb. It just means on the intelligence scale, like you're probably down here a little bit. Well, I'm 18 Charlie French, so that means I wasn't very smart, right? I'm really good at blowing things up and building things. So French, I struggle with French, and to backtrack on what I was saying about not being smart, my study habits weren't that great. There's a long separation between being in like high school. At that point, I hadn't done any college education. So like I chalked that up to myself, like just not using the proper study habits and everything. But I made it, barely. But I got my language score and was able to continue on to Robin Sage, and then get my Green Beret and go to 3rd Special Forces Groups. That was really the only challenges I had in the Q course. It's intense. When people ask me, they're like, what's the Q course like? And I'm like, I want you to imagine that you're standing, and on either side of you, lined up as far as you can see, is nothing but cadre. And you have to run the gauntlet right down the middle of them. And some of the cadre are going to smack you around, and some of them are going to leave you alone. And you're just hoping to get all the way through to the very end, the Q course, so they hand you your Green Beret, at least not too scarred and beat up. Because, I mean, it is. The Q course, that's not a negative on the Special Forces Regiment. It's a year of training, and it's intense. Yeah. It's not training. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. You have to go into that training with the mindset of that you are going to finish, and that like every day you have to do your best. It's not rocket science. So that would be my challenges with the Q course.
Now, being that you were already in the service, like, did you prep for it, like, at all? Or were you like, I'm already in the service, I already train on the daily? Did you do anything extra for it? Or it was like, no? Or did you do research going into, like, what you were going to be doing?
Okay, so I'll break it down for you. So mentally, like, as far as the material that's being presented, like anything demo related, I just knew, obviously, well, not obviously, but I had never touched demo ever in the years that I was in the Army prior to going to the Q course.
Mhm.
So whenever it came time for that specific piece in the Q course, I just really paid attention to what my instructors were saying. And I had excellent instructors in the Q course, really phenomenal, between the calculation and placement of charges, unexploded ordnance, any of the construction stuff, target, identifying targets, all that stuff. The best instructors. So anytime they offered like study halls or anything like that, I was there. Even if I felt very comfortable with the material, I still went just to learn. And I also used that when once I got my Green Beret, went to a team to go to Jump Master School, the hardest, easiest school in the Army. So you just pay attention to your instructors, do exactly what they tell you to do, and then when they offer extra study time and everything like that, take advantage of that. So that was like the mental part. The physical fitness part, so I was in pretty good shape when I went to the Q course, but I was absolutely not in the shape that I wanted to be in and or should have been in. The reason I say that is because I look back now at like how physically fit I am and then how much I've learned over the years being on a team and being exposed to all the phenomenal talent in special forces that we have. The folks that absolutely are just, they're so incredibly physically fitness minded and they know all the tricks of the trade and everything like that. I knew none of it. I knew Army stuff. I knew run a lot, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, and ruck. That was it. And any like physical fitness program and everything like that, I learned all of that from guys on my team, guys on other teams, and then just in general in the Special Forces Regiment, which really opened up my aperture for physical fitness. So I just, just like anything else, you find those folks that you're in training with that are really physically fit, and you're like, hey, what are you doing? And it's like, well, I'm doing all this stuff. It's like, can I train with you? It's like, yeah, you could train with me, and I would just lift and ruck and run with the other guys. And then the cadre at the Q course are really good about pulling out and all the stops when it comes to making sure you're physically fit for the course. But even so, I mean, you still have to train on your own. You have to take personal responsibility to train on your own and not rely on your cadre to train you to be ready for the next evolution. And that was a little bit of a mental switch with being in the Army, because in the Army, when I was in the 82nd or when I was in Korea or when I was in Germany, once you're in a leadership position, it's like you're responsible for your soldiers' physical fitness. Like you have to train them, right? Now here I am in the Q course, and I'm like, we're all students. We have the cadre throwing us out stuff and everything like that. And he did a phenomenal job. He really did. Meeting up group PT a couple times a week, and they make us do rucks and everything like that. But it wasn't enough. You had to do more. You had to do it on your own. And that was part of the difference between being in the regular Army and going to Special Forces. The initiative and the personal responsibility that you individually have to take to prepare yourself for the mission. And that's graduating the Q course.
It's interesting that you talk about that because, most of my listeners are civilians, and I feel like we could equate this to like starting to work out and physical fitness and stuff, where like we're just starting to like go to the gym and we don't know what to do, right? And then we don't know what works and what doesn't work. And you're like, oh, let me try this program that this person's doing to see if it's going to work for me or not. And that's where I'm at right now in my life, where I'm like, okay, like I'm going to the gym. I've been going for a while, like can't gain weight to save my life. So I'm like, and then I'm like, okay, let me try this new program. Let me do this. And, and I do like and this is a good segue to the team because, you could do it alone, but why, right? You all talk about teamwork, right? And I mentioned it in the introduction on how you teach others. What was it? I'm just going to try. Believe deeply in life is a team sport, right? And I believe it's on your website where the journey isn't meant to be easy, but it doesn't have to be walked alone, right? It's all
Correct.
about the team.
Yep.
Talk to us about team, because I've said this 100 times on the show. Everyone that's listens to the show knows this about me. Like teamwork was something that I discovered when I was training with the SEAL, because I grew up playing sports my whole entire life, but I was not, like, put this way, as a soccer player, I was the goalie. I did not, half the time I didn't run with the team. I'd like show up when the game started because I was like, I just didn't have that. I was MVP. Like I had more of that like cocky. I really don't need to do this. I also didn't like love it. I loved it. I loved the game. I didn't love like the practice. It was like natural for me. And then, I didn't really understand the whole team, the camaraderie. We had to do like, I remember they wanted us to do like bus chanting together, like we'd sing together, and I'd always sit in the front. And I'm like, I'm not participating in this. This is dumb.
Same here.
And then, yeah, and then they want us to do like spaghetti dinners before the game. And I was just like, I have no desire to do a spaghetti dinner. Like, I'm not going to show up. So, like, but then when I did training with SEAL, I was like, I need these people. Like, we need to
Yeah.
lean on each other. Like, it's so important. And that's when I learned the power of teamwork and all that stuff. I want to hear about how you ended up understanding team sport and how it became such a passion for you to teach that in others.
When I was in high school, I never played any team sports. So I did junior ROTC. I did junior ROTC and not sports deliberately. And I wanted to focus my energy on learning as much about the military as I possibly could before I went into the military. So
I did ROTC too, by the way.
yeah,
Still did not team out the
yeah,
window.
no, yeah, no, but I had access. I went to so I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So the
Okay.
high school I went to is North Allegheny, and they had and still have one of the best junior ROTC programs in the country, and it was phenomenal. It really was, and to be able to have that resource that I was able to tap into was phenomenal. And then obviously having my family, my dad, but both my grandfathers, talking to me about being in the military, that worked out great. So didn't do team sports, but did JROTC. Went in the Army, and then in basic training and AIT and everything like that, I'm like, man, I'm not as in. I too was like, oh, I'm in really good shape. I'm young. I could do all this stuff. I can run really fast, but like all encompassing, not very well physically fit. Throughout my time in the 82nd and Korea and everything like that, it was more or less just maintaining status quo, making sure that I was prepped for whatever mission was going on, jumping out of airplanes.
Would you say it's more individual over there?
Yeah, we did organize PT. Don't get me wrong. Like in 82nd, like it's you run Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, walk Thursday, run Friday. So you run 4 days a week. Maybe every once in a while you throw in some push-ups and sit-up improvement, right? So really fast runner, really fast rucker, could do a lot of push-ups and sit-ups and everything like that. Don't ask me about deadlifting, squatting, benching, military press, the big four, or any other, compound movements.
Yeah.
Never went to the gym. And if I did go to the gym with my friends, it was all bro lifts, It was all, you know what I mean? It was all, it was buys and curls, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or buys and abs, and just didn't do any of that stuff. So the reason I bring all this up is I didn't really know what I was doing until I got to a team. And it wasn't like the light bulb just went off as soon as I got my green beret. It was like, hey, you got this green beret. Now you know all things physical fitness. That's not how it works, right? So when I got to the team, there was a guy on my team. His name's Ron Schur. He was a Medal of Honor recipient. And he was talking to me about CrossFit. And this was 2008. So this is like right around when CrossFit was like kind of coming up. To this day, that dude is still one of the best trained, physically fit, mentally resilient Green Berets that I ever saw in the very beginning. He was one of the first guys I met on the team, and I was like, wow, this dude is like on a whole nother different level, right? And then you start meeting the other guys on the team, right? So you meet all the other guys on the team, and you're like you start comparing your physical fitness, your mental, your spiritual, your emotional, you start comparing yourself to you're supposed to, by the way. You compare what you have to the guys on the team, and you're like, okay, man, I need to get up to their level because I'm not at their level. Like we're not going to bring people down to my level. I'm going to need to bring myself up. So, I had guys on the team that realized that I didn't have a clue about physical fitness, like real good physical fitness, like foundational. So these guys took me to gyms and showed me how to do all these lifts and helped me in a program. And being on a team, like you just pick a couple guys that I worked out with every day. One of the guys' name is Justin Schaefer. He's still in. He went to be a PA, and he's over in first group. So he was on my team as a Delta, phenomenal Delta, and went to be a PA. And he's in. And luckily, he got into first group, which is really cool because he was an enlisted Green Beret on team in third group, now PA in first group. But I really, to be honest with you, out of all the people that I think of that really helped me out, that guy helped me out the most. he came from a background where he was a collegiate track runner. So he had like his level of physical fitness was just way up there. I lifted and I worked out with him pretty much every day for a couple years that we were together on a team. And I still, to this day, remember and use the stuff that he taught me to stay in shape. And then also, whenever I sign up for these goofy things that I like to do, make sure that I'm prepared for those missions. So it is all about the team because, like, you're not perfect and you don't know everything. But in order for you to be the best teammate, the best version of yourself, you glean on those other folks that you surround yourself with on that team to get yourself up to, a higher collective level on that team. The higher that collective level is on the team, the better that team is, the better that team is operationally, tactically, all the things. So that's how important it is to me as far as like, I would not be here right now if it wasn't for the guys on my team.
So how do you then teach others? Like if they're about team?
That's a great question because that could take us about 3 hours to tell you, like talk through. So luckily for me, I'm very grateful and blessed that I get to run events for Go Ruck. Okay. Like
I saw the
I've been,
website. Yeah,
yep.
it was
So
cool. It looked cool.
I've been running Go Ruck events for 15 years and almost 15 years. My 15-year anniversary is actually coming up in a little while. So I've been with those guys with Go Ruck forever. One of the biggest reasons that I still to this day is a 46-year-old retired sergeant major still out there pounding pavement running Go Ruck events is because it keeps me fresh as a leader. And because when I show up and I show up from an event, I might have 7 people, I might have 30, I might have 100, I might have 150. I have a plan, obviously, but that plan just got me to the door and it got me there to that event. And now I have to physically look at every participant and be like, okay, is everybody going to make this plan? Probably not. Okay, so I have to change the plan up a little bit. At the same time, I also have to make sure that a positive influence on these folks for wanting to do these hard Go Ruck physical fitness rucking events. I have to be a good leader, communicate, give out, very clear and succinct instructions. I have to be a human. I can't be a robotic army, like, throwing out my chopping hand. I have to build these guys up in order so at the end they have a sense of accomplishment because they should, because they just hung out with me for 3 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, whatever, and I put the screws to these guys. So
talk about that. Tell us some Go Ruck. So for those that don't know, tell us about an event that you run, a Go Ruck event.
I'll give you 2 different types of events that we run.
Okay.
Not types of events, but 2 series of events that are like very different, but very important. So the first one is like the shirt, right? So brag HCB. So about 12, 13 years ago, we at Go Ruck, we came up with this 24-hour format where we were going to take all the things that were really hard at like in the Q course, all the physical fitness events, all the team building events, and we were going to smash that together in a 24-hour format, offer it to folks to sign up to do. The first event we had like 60 plus people sign up for it. This past March, we had like 150. So we have people that this event right here, they come to and they absolutely love it. We have people that's the only event they do. We have people that's the event they put on their calendar that they want to train up for and everything like that. As far as like, training up for these events and as far as like what we do as Cadre, we want to show people what they can do. We don't want to be negative, right? So an example within this construct is Log PT. Log PT is absolutely by far the best team building evolution that you could have within an event. It is, right? So you have a log, it weighs a couple 100 pounds. Most people cannot pick that log up themselves and put it up over their head. They cannot. They need other people to do it. So, we teach these guys to work together with their buddies to their left and their right. And the mission is to pick up this log and do a bunch of repetitions that the cadre are going to ask you. And then once they're good with that, then we actually have them start carrying the log for miles. Okay? So at these,
miles.
Miles, yeah.
Not miles.
Miles, not mile, but miles, right? So, and then we throw out all kinds of, we'll have them carry a bunch of other stuff. We'll have them ruck around and do a bunch of, physical fitness, push-ups, sit-ups, and all that other stuff.
Is it open to
And like
everybody, all ages, all
everybody,
genders, or yeah?
all,
Okay.
all.
Okay. Now, do you, when you're doing this, do you like assess, like, if you were to meet me in person, I'm 5 foot 96 pounds, like, like, but are you assessing for things like that as you're putting teams and things together? Because you said I want it to be positive, right? Where people aren't. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be hard and challenging. Like that's what they're going into. Like that's given. But for you, like, how do you assess things at things like that, and how do you keep it in a positive format?
The good thing about this specific event that I'm talking about is it's a great mixture of people that have never done Go Ruck events, people that have done some other Go Ruck events, but this is the one they really want to train hard for because it's one of Go Ruck's top events. And then you have folks that keep coming back, right? So you got like kind of three different populations set. So what I like to do is the people that I see every year at this event, it's like a reunion. You know what I mean? You're not really talking when I engage with these folks. We're not really talking about the event. We're talking about everything other than the event because I know these guys are going to be fine. Like they've already done the event before. I know they're going to be fine. So it's more like catching up, like a reunion. You know what I mean? Like, hey, how you doing? How's the wife doing? How's the kids doing? You know what I mean? Like, hey, I saw on Instagram that you finished your college degree. That's pretty awesome. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then the folks that are kind of on the fence, those are the ones that I really gravitate towards because I remember you talking to me 6 months ago that you were going to sign up for this event. How do you think you're prepared? Do you think you're prepared? Do you think you train enough? Did you ruck enough? Did you lift enough? Did you do enough yoga? Yada, yada, yada. You're right. So I'll spend time with those folks. And then you got the folks that literally they know nothing about Go Ruck and they just show up to the event.
That would be me.
And the cool thing is that's very few and far between. We're talking about out of maybe 130 people, we might get 5 that do that. Maybe. So I'll go engage with those guys. So between those 3 different populations, you're constantly engaging with these guys. You're constantly coming down to their level to engage with them. You know what I mean? And not being the cadre that's like way up there, that's not somebody that you want to engage with or talk with. I want to be open. I want people to come up and ask questions. You know what I mean? We're not drill sergeants. Like, we're Green Berets. I'm not a drill sergeant. I'm not screaming. I'm not yelling. We're like, all right, guys, hey, next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some log PT. All right, we're going to do crawl, walk, run method, and I'm going to show you guys how to do all these things. So you're building these guys up, because when you tell somebody, hey, we're going to do log PT, and they look at the log and they're like, oh God, right?
Yeah.
And then whenever you break it down and you're personable and you talk to these folks, right? Next thing you know, after an hour, it's like, yeah, man, hey, we're done with log PT. You guys did a great job. Let's move on to the next evolution. That helps. That helps build up that person's confidence. And they're like, okay, man, I just did an hour of log PT, which was miserable. Yeah, there's probably some other miserable stuff that's going to happen in the event, but I made it through this piece. And that's what we tell these guys at the event. We're like, look, man, 24 hours is a very long time. What you need to do is just focus on what you're doing in the now. Don't worry about 24 hours or 20 hours or 12 hours out. Focus on what you're doing now. Do the best you can at what you're doing at now. And then we'll get done with that and we'll move on to the next thing. And before you know it, 24 hours is up and you get a patch and we're handing you a beer and hugs and pictures and all the other great things, So that's like those kind of like events that are like just very physically demanding, very mentally taxing. That's those kind of events. The other events that I wanted to talk about are like Normandy. So Go Ruck, we run events on the beaches of Normandy. Okay. Yeah. I've been there myself. I've been there 7 times in my life. Six of those times I've ran Go Ruck events on the beaches of Normandy, Omaha, Utah, Gold, Juneau, Sword, St. Mary Glees, LaFrere Bridge, all these places. I've had guys doing all kinds of craziness at all these locations, right? Which is awesome. Okay, you didn't fly all the way from the United States to Normandy to listen to me tell you to do a bunch of push-ups on the beach. What you did is you came over because you wanted the experience of doing something physically challenging in a very hallowed location that has a ton of history. So, an example, we run events on Omaha Beach. Omaha Beach was the absolute meat grinder on D-Day. We took the most casualties. We'll be on the beach, and I will spend probably more time talking about what happened on that beach back in 1944 than actually doing physical exercises. I'll throw them in the English Channel to like simulate, which it's cold by the way. The English Channel, I'll throw them in like we'll do scenarios like you're in a Higgins boat and you'll run up and down the beach and everything like that. And then it'll be like 30 to 45 minutes of me explaining what happened on that beach. Like, here's the units. This is what they faced. This is the casualties they took. Here's the overall plan. So that's like kind of like the two different types of events where it's like, you're going for the experience, the knowledge, the learning of some major thing that's happened in world history, or you're going to just to see what you're made. There's other events along there and everything like that are interspersed from GoRuck, but the mindset's the same, but you need a little bit more in the tank for the ones where we're trying to see what you're made of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I want to talk about, as you're talking about all this, all I kept thinking about too is like, you're a father, right? How do you translate teamwork, right, to raising your kids? Like, what do you teach them in terms of teamwork? What are you teaching in terms of, especially like, as your kids get older, they stop listening to you, right? So how do you keep that glue together in terms of, that family unit and promoting teamwork within the family?
I have 3 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is, it's absolutely a special forces thing, right? It's great. I am extremely thankful that I have 3 daughters, right? So my daughters they teach me joy. Like, I don't know what joy is, but I know with my daughters that's pure joy. That's what joy is to me. Okay. Without my daughters, there would be no joy. So here at this house right here, my wife's in charge. I don't have a problem saying that. Why? Because between my wife and me, my wife is absolutely programmed to raise, care, and nurture our kids. She is. She's like, I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here to provide, protect, and prepare. Okay?
Huh.
When in this house, mama's in charge. So I take all directions from the tower, and that's her. Okay? So when it comes to building teamwork into your kids, right? I don't have a PowerPoint slide presentation that I pull up and be like, hey, this is how you build teams. You know what I mean? It's just little things that you do throughout the day, right? So a good example, we have this awesome ruck club. I live in Florida, in Nocatee, Florida. We have this awesome ruck club called Ponte Vedra Rucks. Ponte Vedra and Nocatee are right next to each other. And the ruck club leader there, he's had this ruck club for years. He runs Wednesday night, he runs an event, and Sunday mornings he runs an event. So on the Sunday morning ones, we as a family all go to these rucking events, right? So I'll have my girls show up and, they'll throw a ruck on. They might throw a 10-pound plate in there. They might just carry a water bottle and everything like that. During the event, I'm like, hey, you doing okay? You doing all right? They're like, oh, okay. I'm like, hey, maybe you should talk to that person over there. Hey, look, there's another kid over there. Why don't you go talk to that kid so you guys can just, converse and talk, and you're not worried about or thinking about rucking. You're just conversing and talking. Or, hey, you see that crazy guy over there that wanted to make this harder and he brought a 60-pound sandbag and now you see all those people rotating? Well, that sandbag doesn't move on its own. It requires like people to get together to pick up that sandbag, communicate and talk and move that sandbag from point A to point B. You know what I mean? So it's just taking those little things and trying to expound on and explain the greater significance. They're at school, and there's the teacher's asking for volunteers for like a committee to plan like a Halloween party. It's like, hey, right here, kid, here's an opportunity for you to either step up and be a leader, or hey, just be a team player. Like, you don't have to be in charge. Whoever's in charge, right? You just be the best support that you can and help that person out, right? And that builds teamwork because now it's you and another person shooting for completing a mission. So that's, once you bring 2 people together, that's a team, right? And you bring in more people, it's even better. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much how how I try and drill teamwork and leadership into the kids. But it's not overt. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, read this book and then write me a report about leadership in World War II. It's not like that would probably get me nowhere. You know what I mean? It's just taking those little, it's just taking those little opportunities to kind of like, when you see something, you're like, hey, do you see that? Like, this is what that means,
We're going to stop right here as we're going to give a shout out to one of our other sponsors, Sphere Emoji. Quick question for you. When was the last time you gave someone a gift that actually meant something? Not another candle or another box of chocolates, a gift where every time they see it, they think of you. That's Sphere Emoji. Plushies with personality. It's saying, I got this for you because you're loved. Or I got this for you because you make me laugh. You're my giggles. You're my Lulu. They are soft, they're comforting, and a daily reminder that that person matters. With Valentine's Day coming up, Lulu is the perfect gift, mini or pillow size. And yes, the pillow size is as comfortable as it sounds. It's my favorite. So go on over in the show notes and find a sphere emoji that matches your vibe, or just go to sphereemoji.com. Now back to our show. I like that. Now I want to talk about this. Just came to me and I'm like, I got to ask. This is for me mainly. But I know people that are listening on the show, might be thinking about it within their own business, or if they want to start a club or put on an event or something like that. I run a nonprofit, so this is always in my foreground. It's like, how does one put together a team? And to me, my board is part of my team, right? Volunteers, part of my team. Run a nonprofit, getting volunteers, challenging, okay?
Yeah, very. Yes.
Very challenging.
Yes.
Running a nonprofit, having an active board, challenging. Had to let go of a few board members, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to, then you feel like, okay, it's all on me. Like, in terms of like, this person didn't work out. It's my fault. It's not their fault. Like, hey, the group didn't sell tickets to the event. How could I have been a leader? How could I have communicated better? Like, all on me. Like, what do you have for like somebody to develop a team that's strong, that's cohesive? Also, how do you keep that team together? Especially if, like I said, if someone here is listening and they want to put an event together, right? If they want to do their own walk or hike or whatever it is that they want to put together, like club, right? How do you gather those volunteers to grow it? Mainly asking for myself with a nonprofit.
No. So two things. So talent management and personal responsibility. So I'll talk personal responsibility first, and then go into talent management. So personal responsibility as a leader, throughout my just like my military career or whatever, I have always blamed myself first, which is good and bad. There's pros and cons to doing that, right? So when something doesn't go like I wanted to go, or I'm a part of something and it doesn't go, the first person I blame is myself. And you just did it with the opening questions. Like, what could I have done? Could I have communicated this better? Was my mission and intent and key task, was that all aligned? Was I way out there? Did I provide enough time? You could really...
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I beat the shit out of myself all the time, every day, for every decision that I make. You know what I mean? Was it the right decision, bad decision, everything like that? It's a constant analyzing of decisions, right? So you have to be comfortable with taking personal responsibility. Right. You have to. Yeah. If you're the kind of person that will always point fingers, probably running something or being a leader it's just not for you. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that now, in the talent management aspect of it, the right people doing the right things at the right times, right? So, the Army years ago threw that out there, talent management. When I first heard that, I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense, right? So, with you running a nonprofit, it's like, okay, this is my nonprofit, this is my mission, this is what I want to do for the nonprofit, okay? So I have to have a board. I have to have a board of advisors. Okay, so who do I put on this board of advisors, right? Do I want to put all yes men, or do I want to put on people that are going to fight me tooth and nail on every decision, right? Either one, right, may work for you and your leadership style and everything like that. But I always like to draw the balance, right? So for your example, right, 5 board members, right? I would have 3 people that would that are going to be I'm going to have to sell them, right? I'm going to have to sell them on whatever it is that I'm going to want, which is going to make me work harder. It's going to help my communication, and it's going to absolutely validate my mission and my intent, right? And then I'm going to want a couple people where it's like, hey, I'm going to give you a couple sentences. Are you good with this or not good with this? And they'll be like, yes, yeah, good, go. You can do whatever you want. I'm just here just to help out and be a support guy. You know what I mean? The talent management aspect, as far as like, if you want to do like, if you want to be an entrepreneur or you're working in corporate America and you're trying to build a team around a mission to get it done, or you're trying to start your own business, which, it may or may not fall in that entrepreneurial spirit. You can either do everything on your own, which is that's a course of action. You could absolutely do everything on your own. You ain't gonna have time for anything else. And
Yeah.
you're gonna be exhausted, and you're probably not gonna get out of it what you wanted to, right? But if you bring in other people, you're talking to some folks and you're like, man, that guy right there would be awesome on my board. And then you bring that person on your board, or hey, that person right there, that's my outreach director. Super, super extrovert, loves to talk, loves the mission. I can just send this person into a room that doesn't know anybody, and they probably can solicit donations, people to come to an event, people awareness, the whole 9 yards. So to me, it's talent management and then personal responsibility when it comes to all of these things. And with me, I'm I got my own website and I got all this stuff on there and everything like that. Part of it is, that's what I chose to do once I retired. The other part of it is like, I just like the industry that I'm, the physical fitness, rucking, yoga, that kind of industry. Like, I want to learn how to do everything from soup to nuts myself. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think there's value to that. I think there's a lot of value into like, if you want to step into something and you actually really want to understand it and you actually want to lead it, then you have to do it. Being a Green Beret on a team, you go through a whole year of training before you even get to a team. And then you think you show up at this team and you're like, man, I made it. I'm like, no, you didn't make it. That Green Beret just got you through the door. Now you still have to prove yourself every day. You still have to learn. You still have to work with everybody in order to accomplish the mission. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny the last thing that you said, because I speak at schools, and I the kids always ask at some point, the kids always ask me stuff about like leaving school. Like, they're all excited about leaving school because they feel like once they graduate, there's no learning, right? And they always ask me this
Yeah.
question, and I'm like, oh, they a lot of times they're like, oh, what year did you like stop school? And I'm like, I never
Never.
stopped. They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "No, like, I'm in school of life." I'm like, "I'm learning." Like, I decided to start this nonprofit that I had no idea what I'm doing. Suddenly, I'm a grant writer. Suddenly, I'm an event
Yeah.
planner. I'm all these things that I wasn't, but the thing is because I'm learning, right? And that was so relatable in terms of what I get from the
Yeah.
students, like, all the time, especially the middle school, high school age. They're, like, ready. They're like, "We're done." And I'm like,
I get
no.
it. I get it. Yeah. Yeah. No, I get, so another resource that I really gravitated towards the military was tuition assistance, right? So years ago, long time ago, 2010, 2011, my wife brought it up. She's like, hey, you get tuition assistance. You can get a college degree for free. And I was like, yeah, I'm not interested. Not interested whatsoever. I was like, I don't have the time. Even if I had the time, I don't want to dedicate the time to it. I was like, and a college degree is absolutely not going to help me in my job right now. My job is to go over to Afghanistan and kill bad guys with the other bros on my team and be there for them. All my energy needs to be focused on that. And she was like, yeah, you might want to look into it. So I actually did. I ended up graduating. I started my college degree in 2011 and I finished in 2024. Right?
Awesome.
I got
Congrats.
I got my 4 year degree from NC State. Granted, I went the extreme hard route to go to NC State, but regardless of that, going to NC State and getting exposed to a whole different education level and some other skills and tasks really helped me become a better leader and a better Green Beret. The only negative was the time. Being a Green Beret and being on a team, it's a very demanding job, and the more rank you get, the less hours you have on your own. Generals, command sergeant majors up at the strategic and even higher on at the brigade and operational level, those guys aren't managing their calendars. Somebody else is. Somebody else is managing that person's time because their time is so valuable that somebody else has to step in and manage it because there's just a million things to do and they have to help prioritize. You know what I mean? It's not that,
Yeah.
General Braga, when he was the USASOC commander, it's not that guy doesn't care And it's not that he didn't want to go down and talk to the troops or any of this other stuff. It's just that he has an entire staff that literally stares at stuff and is like, okay, this is a priority. We have to get this in front of the boss. Being able to grab on to all these different people and the college degree and all the other resources and just kind of throw that in there just gradually makes you a better leader.
What did you learn then from going through college that helped make you a better leader?
So I took a bunch of foreign policy classes. Luckily, NC State was great. You know, with a college degree, you can take a bunch of electives and stuff like that, right? And I was like, look, I don't want to take underwater basket weaving. I'm not just here just to get a piece of paper. If I'm going to spend my time doing something, I want to get something out of it, right? So really heavily leaned on like any of the classes that I thought may help or give me some additional insight to problem sets that I was working in special forces, right? So I took a bunch of foreign policy classes because with being in 3rd Special Forces Group, we were primarily in Afghanistan and then we switched to Africa. And that was right at the time that I was like a first sergeant, a sergeant major, an S3 operations sergeant. So it was a complete shift in operational areas. So, and it was a different way of doing things. So understanding foreign policy and understanding how the State Department sees Green Berets and what we're doing on the ground and how we fit into the whole government approach and what the United States U.S. national security interests was very helpful. Okay, it didn't solve all my problems, but it gave me context. It gave me understanding sitting there in those foreign policy classes where, I'm reading this 15-page paper and it's got a lot of big words and I need a separate computer for a dictionary to be able to look up all this stuff. And there's a couple things I'd have to read over like 3 times. I'm like, don't really get this. You know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
all the writing, college, very heavy on writing papers. That's how you communicate. It just helped me communicate better as a leader, especially when you start getting up to those higher levels. You can't just rely on and be like, hey, I got something to say. Let me pull a formation in right now. As a sergeant major in the special forces community, he's got really something important to say. Or conversely, you can put your thoughts succinctly in an email and send it out to everybody. And now you're communicating and you're bringing everybody in to have shared understanding so you can go ahead and knock out the next problem set. So that's how college really helped me out. It just gave me different types of tools to put overall in the toolbox to be able to use to be successful.
How do you build a cohesive team together as volunteers?
The mission, having everybody bought off on what the mission is. Clear, succinct, this is what the mission is, right? If I was running a nonprofit or if I was running a business or anything like that, you know what? I'm going to go to an example because I think this is the best example, right? Back in the 1960s when NASA was getting ready to put a man on the moon, right? I can't remember who it was, but somebody very important went to NASA and they asked the janitor what they do every day. And the janitor was like, we all here are getting ready to put a man into space. That's phenomenal, right? A janitor, right? A janitor who's like just walking around cleaning, mopping up floors and everything like that. The janitor was bought in that his piece of the pie, his little part, his cog in the machine was part of the greater good to get man on the moon, an American man on the moon, by the way. And that to me is like getting everybody target focused on the mission at hand, right? At a GoRuck event that I'm running, I'm like, the mission here is that you guys all finish, we do everything safely, and that you help your buddy out to your left and your right. Those are the 3 key tasks right there, right? You may go through some of these physical fitness evolutions, and we're going through the event, and you're like, oh man, this is easy. I got this all day, right? And then you look over to your buddy, and you're like, whew, they don't look too good, right? Now you want to spend that energy and effort not just worrying about yourself, but getting your buddy to finish with you because it's a hell of a lot better to finish any of these physical fitness events together, not alone. You finish alone, it's like, great. Good job running a marathon. That's awesome. But did you get your buddies to train with you and to get them across the finish line? How many of you got across the finish line together? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. What if you're all struggling? How are you helping? Let's talk about hey, because I'll tell you at Team Eagle One, everyone was struggling. Even I don't care what they're saying. Literally, it was hard for every single person, whether they're in the front or the back. It's
Oh, yeah.
challenging, right?
Yeah.
How are we as a team helping our buddies left and right, through us all struggling?
Shared misery. Shared misery is one of the best. That's the military is built on shared misery. You know what I mean? It really is, right? So it's not even like take special forces out of it. It's just being in the military.
Yeah.
Like any of the branches of the military, right? You go to talk to somebody in the military, and you're like, oh, I was in the Navy, I was in the Air Force, blah blah blah, and then usually within if that conversation is any more than 10 minutes, it's already delved into something that sucked that you had to do, right? It always does in the military because of the shared misery of being in the military, right? And you might have people thinking like, geez, man, I do not want to join the military because of that. Like, no, you should join the military because of that, because you're not doing it alone. And that's the key. You're not doing this alone. You're not in the Army by yourself. You know what I mean? You're not in the
Right.
Navy by yourself. You're not doing all these things by yourself. There's very few things in the military that you actually do 100% by yourself. Everything else is related to the team. It's getting a group of individuals together and completing a mission, no matter how hard it is. And that resilience is built up by consistently doing hard stuff over and over and over again to callous yourself, to get like Goggins says it best, to callous your mind and to be able to deal with the adversity that's being thrown at you and be like, oh yeah, man, that's too. Oh, you want me to do a 12-mile road march? That's too easy, man. I did one of those a couple years ago. It sucked, but I'll do it again. You know what I mean? And that's the beautiful part about being in the military is just like there's so many things that you do every day. They're just horrible and they just suck. And you don't have no idea actually why you're even doing this stuff, but you're doing it. You know what I mean? And then it's even better because you look left and right and you're like, man, we're all sucking, but you know
We're
what?
sticking together.
We're all at least I got some bros here, and then the humor comes out, and then the military,
Yeah.
we're all known for our like absolutely completely different sense of humor, our morbid sense of humor. It's like, oh, we're gonna go on this mission tape, we're probably all gonna get blown the fuck up. You know what I mean? It is what it is, right? That's the
Yeah.
beautiful part. That's how like when everybody is suffering, you look left and right and be like, well, I'm not suffering alone, and if I got to continue to suffer, I at least want to do it with these folks right here to my left and the right.
Yeah, that's it causes a bond that's just, it becomes a very strong bond. I think that's why in the beginning with entrepreneurship, people quit. It's really hard because you're going in and on your own most of the time as an
Yeah, absolutely.
entrepreneur, right? And it's like
Yeah.
until you can, like my nonprofit consultant said to me the other day for next year's budget, he was like, really need you to get an administrative assistant. I'm like, who's paying for that? Like, like
I
where's
know,
that
right?
coming from? Right. I go, because right now, like just me doing it is just, it's helping out with us being able to do the program. But I think also like that's where the burnout comes from. That's where I don't know if I want to do this anymore, like the frustration because you're in
Oh
it
yeah.
alone. There's no other person that is sucking with you throughout the beginning stages of entrepreneurship, and, that's an interesting factor that you just brought up.
Well, like so with me, right? So the brand that I'm building, the Cadre Dan brand, is nothing more than a brand completely in alignment and underneath GoRuck.
Mhm.
Period. Okay, so nothing I do is outside of bounds of what GoRuck has me do with running events, right? So
Mhm.
I run events that are Go Ruck events, right? And then I run
Mhm.
events on my own, but those events are also Go Ruck events. I know it doesn't make any sense, but regardless, right? When I was thinking about what you were saying, the first persons that popped in my mind was my wife, right? So when I first started out doing all this stuff, and I've only been on my own, retired for 15 months now.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I first started out, building all this, I was like target fixated on computer, spreadsheets and Word documents, and this connects to that like mad scientist, right? My whiteboard looked like a Venn diagram exploded all over it, right?
Yep, I see mine. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I'm looking at mine now, right? I'm like, I probably should erase that, right? So, but
Yeah.
the reason I bring this all up is that I got I got on an operational velocity that completely left my wife behind. A couple times my wife came up to me, she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean I'm doing? I'm doing this, and this." And she's like, "Well, you don't tell me any of this stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, fail." mission failure right now. You know what I mean? I've been trying to spend more time briefing her up and telling her literally everything that I'm doing for my own business to her to brief her up. And then like based off her reaction will depend on like how much of a priority I need to make that and whatnot. So my wife is my number one advisor. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, some marriages that's not the case. Some marriages, it works. Some marriages it doesn't. But I would highly, highly suggest to anybody who's going their entrepreneur route or anything like that is to do what you did and like get an advisor. You know what I mean? Somebody they're not making decisions for you and they're not necessarily gravitating you to make specific decisions. They're giving you the macro, right? They're like, hey, you might want to think about this, you think about that, and looking at everything and they're helping you out. Because when you're in the military, you're surrounded by mentors. You got them up, you got them down, you got them lateral. You know what I mean? When I was a company sergeant major, I spent a lot of time talking to my fellow company sergeant majors. I also talked to my battalion CSM, my group CSM. I talked to the team sergeants that were, down at the tactical level because that's the most important job in special forces is being a team sergeant. And that's where all the knowledge and that's where all the smart people are on the teams. You know what I mean? So like you're surrounded by that. Now you get out and now you're on your own and you got the VA and you got this SBA and you got some other programs and everything like that. It's all great. But in order to be very successful, in order to be, more successful than you are, find an advisor. Start with your spouse. If that doesn't work, find somebody else. Find a mentor. Yeah. Everybody needs mentors. I have mentors.
Yeah.
People use me as a mentor, which is great. You know what I mean? It's pretty awesome. I'm like, wow. Like, I must not have sucked so bad as a leader in the Army that people were actually hitting me up for advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. And then I got people that were way ahead of me that I, get mentorship from all around. That's all about building a team right there. You know what I mean? Like the talent management aspect, right people, right place, right things, all that stuff. And then finding those good people that they're going to help you. They have your best interests in mind. They want to mentor you. They want to help because they see potential in you,
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you so much. And now I got to ask you our final question on the show. What do you have for us to do on a daily basis to tackle those inevitable hard challenges that come our way?
That's a good one. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with an easy one. Start off your day doing something hard. Now, what is that? That varies by person. Right. It really does. Some people like to get in a cold plunge first thing in the morning. God bless them.
Yeah. God bless them.
I need coffee. I need like to get kind of right with the world. And then I'll probably jump into cold plunge. It's not the first thing I do, right? Some people start off the day doing yoga, right? I would say half the days I start off doing that. Some days I just don't want to, right? I try not to get so target fixated and just doing the same thing over and over and over again. But what I do is that in the very beginning of the day, the first, let's say 4 to 6 hours, I absolutely want to get a workout in because that absolutely starts you off on the right path. That starts your day off on the right path. You can't go wrong, right? So you started the day off by doing some physical fitness. So the day could go to shit. All kinds of craziness can happen, but you know that you took care of yourself that day. You did something hard. You did a workout. You know what I mean? You're sweating. Maybe you weren't sweating. Maybe you did an hour of yoga. Like I do an hour of yoga and it kicks my ass and I'm a yoga instructor. You know what I mean? Start your day off with something hard so that your day can't get any worse, but it can get easier because you started it off with the hard thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now some people take that a little extreme. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? Like some people are like, yeah, I'm going to ruck 12 miles to start my day off. And I'm like, that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable whatsoever. You know what I mean? But what is sustainable is like when you wake up, depending on your schedule, right? Work and kids and mama and everything like that, carve out some time for yourself. Do something physically fit, something physical fitness that's hard, depending on your physical fitness level. And once you get done with that, you're ready to attack the day. That's why the military starts the day. The first thing you do in the Army, right? You have a formation for accountability. Okay, we got everybody. Now we're moving into PT. It's been that way since 1776, and it's going to be that way for another 250 years. So that's my advice.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for being on the show. You're fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you.
Everyone that's listening, please like, share, comment, subscribe, become a Substack member for those extra goodies that only our Substack members get. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys all next week.